On this week's Practical Pro Musician, we're going to talk about two things that are completely unrelated that came out of my recent get-together with a musician at the top of the pro musician world. Stay tuned. We love playing music, but it seems like the odds of making a living as a professional musician are about as high as winning the lottery. So the big question is this: how do musicians like us, with jobs, families, and responsibilities, get from where we are today to making a practical living playing music we love? Well, my name is Daniel Hadaway, and this show will give you the answers. This is the Practical Pro Musician. Well, welcome back to another edition of the Practical Pro Musician. My name's Daniel, and if my voice sounds a little deeper today than it usually does, it's because normally I record this podcast around lunchtime of whatever day I'm recording it, but today I'm doing it a little earlier, and that is because if you followed along with this podcast for any length of time, you've probably heard me mention at some point about us building a house and selling our house and moving and all that stuff. Well, this, as I'm recording this, this upcoming weekend is moving day. We're moving out of our house that we're in right now into our rental house while the house we're building gets finished up getting built. So I'm doing this a little earlier in the day, which means my voice is deeper, but also means this episode might be a little shorter because I am trying to get everything done before like lunchtime, so that I can start at lunchtime and get everything else done, start moving. But I wanted to share two things with you today. I'm going to have to be careful about what I say here because I want to protect this person's identity. But I had a chance to hang out, have coffee with a pro musician here in town, here in Nashville. And he had some time off while he was here. And so he hit me up and said, "Hey, you want to have coffee?" And I said, "Yes." And so we did. And there's a couple of things I picked up from him along the way that's kind of cool. And there's two things that I wanted to share with you that I got from him, and they're actually, they don't really have much to do with each other. One's kind of just a fun thing to know that's kind of interesting that even me, and I've had lots of experience and known lots of professional musicians, but I learned something new from this musician about what it's like out there in the music world, in the pro musician world. And then also just another kind of more useful kind of practical piece of information. So I will get to let's do the practical thing first. Like I said, this episode's probably going to be a little shorter than most. So from a practical standpoint, what was interesting was I met with this person because, as you probably know, again, if you've heard this podcast for any amount of time, playing music, I've made the decision, is not going to be my only full-time job. I have another job that I do where I do marketing, and also some of the stuff that I do in the music coaching world relies on me being a good marketer in order to get people to listen to what I have to say. It's all the things that I do for everyone aren't going to help anyone if no one knows about them and no one actually listens. So I'm kind of deep in the marketing world. And so part of the reason why I met with this person was he is working on something to help musicians out. He's got an idea for something that he wants to use to help musicians. And he knew that not only am I a musician, but also I kind of have been in this world for a while and just wanted to kind of get my feedback. So, it was a great idea, a great thing. It was wonderful. But what hit me was this musician plays for definitely one of the bigger artists of anybody that I know. I'm not sure if it's the biggest, as far as popularity, that kind of thing, how the size of shows they play. It's close. Definitely one of the most one of the biggest artists out there, this person plays for. And like I said, I'm trying to be careful what I say because I'm trying to protect their identity. But what's interesting to me is that even at that kind of upper, what many people on the outside looking in would say, oh, this is the pinnacle. You've reached the top of the pro musician world. This person is looking to do more. And kind of what was interesting is like, I kind of knew this to be true, but it was just nice to have like an example, another real world example of someone doing this. But it's interesting because I see so many musicians out there, some that I follow on social media and things, and they've got other things going on. They've got, they do lessons or consultations, or they have products, merch they sell. They do clinics, they do all these other things. And it's like most of these people who are doing these things are already playing for like some of the biggest artists in the world. And it's like, well, why is that? And it's not like a dissatisfaction because it's not, part of it could be, if you're counting on, ever getting to a certain point and just being done and satisfied and calling it quits, that's probably not going to happen. That's not how humans are made, I don't think, especially not ones that are successful. And that's really the other piece, is that once you get in the groove of doing the things that are necessary to build a music career and drive a music career forward, you're going to develop certain habits, and also just like you're going to nurture certain personality traits about yourself, the drive and determination, the tenacity to keep pushing forward, that once you actually achieve something, you're naturally going to want to keep pushing forward and achieve more. And so I just want to let you know that if you're embarking on this journey, you're never going to be done trying to do more. And that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. And so this person wants to do more. At a certain point, once you kind of reach the top, you might shift from wanting to accomplish more for yourself to trying to help others. And that's certainly like what the angle that attracted me to what I'm doing now is I said, you know what, like I actually, I think that I've learned enough that I can maybe pass some of this on to other people. And that's my dog in the background. You probably heard. Yeah, you're gonna want to help other people, and I think that's a wonderful place to be. And then once you start helping other people, it's how can I help more people? There's always something more to accomplish, and so that's kind of the first thing that I picked up. That was the practical thing: is if you're in this for the long haul, if you're in this music career thing for the long haul, don't expect to ever get to a place where you're just going to be done and sit still. I think I don't know where it came from, but someone. I think it might be in the tech world or something. There's a quote that's like to sit still is to go backwards or something like that, or to stand still is to go backwards. That's certainly true in music. You got to keep working in order to even maintain what you've got. All right, so that's the practical piece. The fun piece is this. Like I mentioned, this person plays for one of the biggest artists in the world, and I knew these kinds of things happen, but like I didn't realize like how crazy it is. This artist, and this is not uncommon, by the way. I've heard similar stories. I just got to hear it firsthand about a current situation. When you play for some of these larger artists, and this is true of like anybody, like you think about like, I'm sure like Lady Gaga's band or Justin Timberlake or anybody, these, and I'm probably out of touch. There's probably somebody like super famous that I'm not like even aware of, but I'm sure all these major artists, these major pop artists, they all have something similar, but all their musicians have to sign non-disclosure agreements, NDAs. So they can't share. Of course they can talk about like that they play for this artist, but they can't share many details about what it's like, publicly. And that stuff gets monitored closely, very closely. In fact, I found out that the artists will have teams in some cases of people that do keep track of all of that. And if the band gets out of line and says something that is outside of what they're allowed to say, they'll say, "Hey, look, you got to take that. You got to take that down. You got to take that audio down. You got to take that video down. You got to take that picture down." And they have a legal right to do that. And they signed a contract. So it's really interesting, in anything like that, anybody who's in a band like that might want to put out to help other musicians, they kind of have to run it up the flagpole to the organization to make sure it gets approved, that they can say some things. And at the end of the day, the artist has final say on what you can and can't say. But also, there are some limitations on what you can even say. It sounded like even like in the presence of the artist, like in the room, like while you're on the clock, at a show, at a dressing room, in a locker room, and at a venue for a show, at the end of the day, there might be certain topics you can't talk about. And, that might seem oppressive or not, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's a big deal. I can avoid talking about certain things while I'm playing a show if I'm playing for one of the biggest artists in the world. But it's just crazy. It was just kind of a fun little fact. I love stuff like that. I'm like a details geek, so I thought that was kind of cool to hear about. That stuff still does go on, especially they probably have to do more of that in this day and age with like social media and stuff. It's so easy for anybody to put anything out there publicly and have tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people see it instantly. That they got to kind of keep a tight lid on things, because you never know. Someone could go off the rails and say something insane and everyone's going to believe it. And before you know it, it's a problem. And you didn't even have a chance to like react, and the whole world's talking about it and it's not even true. So it totally makes sense. It was just interesting to me. All right. So 2 things, like I said, completely unrelated. One is, practical, and that just be ready that you're never going to stop progressing. You should never stop progressing. Even at the top, when you get to the top, so to speak, you're still going to want to find new ways to develop yourself, to help others, and keep pushing forward. And then people in the top level, they have to deal with some interesting challenges. And that's kind of another, I guess, takeaway, is that you're always going to have some restrictions and challenges in your music career at every level. Early on, it might be, I need more gigs, or my gear's falling apart, or something like that. But as you move forward, it's going to be a different set of challenges. You're always going to have new challenges for yourself. And that's okay. Just got to know that it's never going to get easy. It's never going to get easy. You're always going to have some kind of challenge you got to work around and work with. And so let's leave with that. As I'm recording this, it's almost Labor Day weekend. So let's talk about work. Always going to have something to work around or labor around. Wow, that was a really bad pun. All right, I need to get off the air before I make more bad jokes. All right, have a great, great, great week, and I can't wait to talk to you again next week. This is the Practical Pro Musician. Bye for now.